Shocking reaction. When Sundar Pichai's son was tested. When you think of Sundar Pichai, what comes to mind? For most people, it's the image of a soft-spoken, highly intelligent leader who rose from humble beginnings in India to become the CEO of Google and later Alphabet. His journey is often told as an inspiring tale of hard work, humility, and vision. But what many don't hear about often is his life as a father, his personal side, the way he raises his kids, and how the values he learned growing up in a modest household influence the way he teaches his own children. One particular story about Sundar Pichai and his son caught everyone's attention. It wasn't about business, technology, or boardroom success. It was about parenting, a test, and a shocking reaction that said more about human character than about any Silicon Valley achievement. Sundar Pichai, the man before the CEO. Before diving into the story, let's understand a little about Sundar himself. Born in Chennai, India, Sundar grew up in a middle-class family. His father worked as an electrical engineer, and his family didn't own luxuries many of us take for granted today. In fact, Sundar's childhood home didn't even have a telephone until he was 12 years old. That kind of upbringing shaped him in two important ways. He learned to value simplicity and humility. He understood the importance of patience and thoughtful decision-making. Fast forward to adulthood, Sundar moved to the U.S., earned his education, and eventually climbed the ladder at Google. Today, he is one of the most powerful figures in the world of technology. Yet, despite the fame, he remains grounded and family-oriented. And that brings us to the moment when his son faced a test, not in a classroom, but in life. The test that wasn't about grades. When people hear the word test, they often think of exams, grades, or academic challenges. But the test Sundar's son faced wasn't about mathematics or science. It was about character. Here's how it unfolded. One afternoon, Sundar wanted to see how his son would handle temptation. Growing up, Sundar had faced many moments where he had to make tough choices between what was easy and what was right. He believed these small decisions shape a person's character. So, in a very subtle way, he designed a little test. On the dining table at home, Sundar placed two things. A brand new gadget, something shiny and exciting, the kind of thing any teenager would want to grab immediately. And beside it, an envelope with some money in it, labeled for household help. Then, without saying much, he left the room. The idea was simple. Would his son be tempted by the gadget? Would he pick the money, thinking no one would notice? Or would he do something unexpected? The shocking reaction. When Sundar returned after a while, he expected maybe curiosity, maybe even some guilt on his son's face. But what actually happened left him stunned. His son hadn't touched the gadget or the money. Instead, he had written a short note on a piece of paper and placed it beside the envelope. The note said, "Papa, I don't think this belongs to me. Should I give it back to the helper myself? Or will you do it?" This simple response shocked Sundar, not because it was wrong, but because it was so unexpectedly mature. Many kids in that moment might have been tempted. They might have picked up the gadget out of excitement or curiosity. But his son thought about responsibility. He didn't just avoid taking what wasn't his. He actively wanted to make sure it reached the right person. That was the moment Sundar realized his son was developing the values he hoped for: honesty, empathy, and accountability. Sundar's own reflection. As a father, Sundar couldn't have been prouder. But what made this moment even more powerful was the way he reflected on it later. He once said in an interview, "It's not about what you achieve, but about who you become along the way." This little incident proved that his parenting approach, emphasizing values over material possessions, was working. Despite being the child of a billionaire CEO, his son showed humility and integrity. Sundar realized that while he could give his children access to the world's best opportunities, What truly mattered was teaching them to remain grounded and kind. Lessons for parents and leaders. The story of Sundar Pichai's son isn't just a sweet family anecdote. It holds lessons for all of us. Children learn what they see. Kids don't just follow instructions. They observe behavior. Sundar's humility and integrity clearly influenced his son's mindset. Tests of character are everywhere. Life is full of small tests. How we react in those moments defines who we are. Success isn't about wealth alone. Sundar could have easily spoiled his children with luxuries. Instead, he taught them the importance of honesty and responsibility. True leadership starts at home. If you can raise children who value kindness and fairness, you've achieved something more meaningful than corporate success. A deeper look. Why this story resonates. Why did this story spread so widely when people heard about it? Probably because in today's fast-paced, competitive world, we often equate success with money, status, and power. But stories like these remind us that true success is raising good human beings. It resonates with parents who worry about how to guide their children in an age of distractions. It resonates with professionals who sometimes forget that integrity matters more than shortcuts. And it resonates with young people who want to know what really counts in the long run. Beyond the test. Sundar's parenting style. This wasn't the only time Sundar showed his unique approach to parenting. He's been known to keep technology in balance at home. Despite running Google, he doesn't encourage his kids to be glued to screens all day. Instead, he wants them to explore, read, and connect with people face to face. He once revealed that his son, at the age of 11, was already mining cryptocurrency on his computer. Instead of being overly impressed or critical, Sundar saw it as curiosity and gently guided him toward understanding responsibility in using technology. This shows another important lesson. Parenting isn't about control. It's about guidance. The bigger picture. So, what does this whole incident tell us? That no matter how successful you are, no matter what title you hold, your greatest legacy will be your children and the values you leave behind. For Sundar Pichai, the shocking reaction of his son during that little test was more meaningful than any professional milestone. It reminded him, and all of us, that the measure of a good life isn't just what we build, but the people we nurture. Conclusion. Ikiditithir's story of Sundar Pichai's son being tested and his shocking reaction isn't just about one family. It's about the timeless truth that character outweighs success. As Sundar himself often says, wear your failure as a badge of honor. But perhaps even more important is wearing your values as a guiding light. So, the next time you think about success, remember this story. It might not be about building the next Google. Sometimes the biggest success is simply raising a child who knows the difference between right and wrong, and chooses right.